Good evening. It is Sunday evening, January 24th. Thank you for joining us. We are coming to you at the end of week 5 of the NBA season. This is the University of Fantasy Basketball podcast. I go by Dr. Dane Andre, and I'm here with my co-host, the distinguished professor himself, Mr. Kilonomics. How you doing, brother?
I am doing great, and happy to be here, and excited to discuss another, successful fantasy basketball week.
Absolutely. So your matchups are looking good for you.
Another bumpy road. It's been a lot of turbulence this week, but it's like anytime you're fighting, things will get better, in the up and coming weeks. So, excited about the future weeks and looking forward to week 6. How about your matchups?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking better this week. Looking better. I've got a couple that are still shaping out to something. But for the most part, I mean, I'm gonna probably finish up winning 3 out of my 5 matchups. Losing one 4-5, and another one that just got killed. Got killed in the Noop League with our frat brother. So, um, yeah, man. It's been good. It's been good. It's been better, like I said. Um so yeah, week 5, man. It's been kind of a quiet week, but we had some stuff happen, which were kind of interesting. So we got to see Brooklyn's big 3 finally get on the court together. That was interesting. That was fun. Um and probably frustrating for some fans, but and the team itself. Um, we had some interesting talk by our our Hall of Fame center Shaq, talking a little crazy about Donovan Mitchell. We had, let's see, um, somebody sit out a surprise game for an interesting reason, D'Angelo Russell. But we'll get into all of that in just a bit. Um, Anything that caught your eye this week?
I mean, you hit the big ones, which was finally getting to see what the big 3 in Brooklyn look like. Um, I mean, Joker and Embiid, continue to play at an incredible level. You've also got Kawhi Leonard, who's secretly making, his case for league MVP this year. Um, Especially now that he's playing in back-to-backs too, so he could quietly, walk away with the trophy if the Clippers continue to win games at the rate that they're winning.
Yeah, that's definitely been big. Seeing Kawhi playing back to backs, a lot of fantasy players are excited about that. I have Kawhi in one of my leagues, and it's been a pleasant surprise for me. So, um, yeah, that's definitely great to see. We had a few people come back from injury. Kemba is looking a little bit more like Kemba these days. Um, Michael Porter Jr. made his return. Anyone I'm forgetting that's kind of major?
Uh, Miles Turner was out for like a no, he was basically out for a game or two. There was the scare because he had like some small fracture in his hand, so there was a worry that he might miss games due to surgery, but it turned out to be something with a couple of games of rest. He was back in there.
How many games did
Um,
he miss?
Somewhere between 2 to 3 games uh, because of the injury.
And they had a game postponed as well. I think Indiana had a game postponed as well. if I'm not mistaken.
Uh, yeah, sounds right. Sounds right.
Yeah. So let's go quickly with our box scores of the week, BS of the week. We picked our most impressive box scores. Let's start with yours. You had Kevin Durant.
Yeah, so I went with the home team for my box score of the week. I mean, Kevin Durant was phenomenal. This was the first game of the big three. They played the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Kevin Durant was just phenomenal. I mean, you look at those numbers. I mean, he hit every single category. He was just outstanding. And I mean, what really caught my surprise was the amount of blocks. Um, and the blocks don't even do the justice as far as like how great he looked as a defensive anchor
Right.
for that team. And
This,
so, yeah,
this was
and
like you said, this the first time seeing all three of them on the floor, Kyrie, Harden, and KD. But the second half of their back-to-back games against Cleveland, not one but two L's. Kyle, any comment on that?
you know, it's a regular season loss, right? Like, everybody,
That boy
you
Colin
know,
Sexton, man, he came out and came
everybody's
out
got their
with
opportunity.
liver.
Some people celebrate regular season wins, other teams celebrate, championships. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they're
You
playing for the buy-in. The Nets, we know where they're going to be at, right? And there's a lot of people that's putting a lot of money that also know where the Nets are going to be at. So, it's
Kyrie
it's
certainly agrees with that.
it's it's
Uh,
part of the journey.
he's on his Instagram talking about being uh playing where the I forget these exact words, but it's something like we'll be there at the end with playing the best of the best or something along those lines.
E-
Um,
Exactly. There was one play where Jared Allen straight stuffed it on Joe Harris,
yes,
and then
in my Twitter.
and then he walked away with this grin, like he
Yeah,
was just saving all of that energy, and I'm just looking at him, and all I could do was just laugh.
yeah, he,
He understood. He
uh,
understood that this was his finals. He understood that this was his finals, and so
come on,
shout out to those boys at Cleveland, for
man.
for for for
Curry,
winning,
Curry on
for
Prince
winning.
buckets. Uh,
Uh,
you know, some revenge game stuff. Um,
yeah,
we can well, I guess while we're on the topic, you know, championship aspirations, as they should. What what do you make of the defense right now? The struggles on defense. Is that something that you see improving? And if not, how realistic are championship aspirations for Brooklyn?
so the first part of that question, the defense is horrible. They're probably second to last. The last team probably being the Sacramento Kings. Um, but the good thing is I mean, it can only get better. I mean, it can't really get any worse. And they've just got a lot of young, talent that they're throwing out there, and so there's going to be a lot of inexperience as far as defensive rotations, and the know-how. And also, the Nets unfortunately just don't even have bodies, so they don't even have a DeAndre, somebody to play behind DeAndre Jordan, that can soak up minutes. Because all they need is somebody that's youthful and half the person like DeAndre Jordan, which unfortunately Percy isn't quite there yet. I mean, he's a rookie, um,
Yeah,
and so
he's so like irrelevant that you're calling him Percy. I think he's Perry, but
yeah.
um,
See, exactly. But hopefully
he'll
by
get
the end
there.
of the season,
He's a young man.
hopefully by
He'll
the
get
end,
there.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully by the end of the season,
He's got the right kind of energy.
you
So
know,
I like I like his attitude, and his approach to the game right now.
but I mean, basketball is a game where you just need to score more points than the other team, and so that'll certainly get them to the NBA Finals because it's the amount of offense they have is just too potent. And there's gonna be people that are gonna sign on, because players want to win championships, especially a lot of the vets, and so that
Yeah,
that plays to the
we'll have
Nets'
to
advantage.
we'll have to talk about the potential buyout scenarios and who can maybe later on join this team, who would be interesting to join this team. But like you mentioned, man, the defense is very concerning. Uh, the interior defense, particularly, is very concerning. Bam just dropped 43 on you, and I'll be honest. I mean, I know Bam is a great player, but I didn't know he had like a 40 something point game in him. Um,
He was hitting a lot of jump shots, and I mean, Bam doesn't hit jump shots with the level of consistency that he was doing against the
well,
Nets. Like he was hitting.
I just have a feeling it's going to become a recurring theme
Mhm.
in terms of what how big men perform against Brooklyn, and in a conference like we have, in the Atlantic, um, you got to worry about Embiid. Well, I guess there's not a whole lot of other people you got to worry about in the Atlantic, but um,
Yeah, I mean, it's the rebounding. It's the rebounding, right? So if the Nets figure out the rebounding thing, they'll be all right. I mean, one thing to note, Miami Heat was one of the worst rebounding teams last year, and I mean, and this year, and we saw what happened with them. I mean, that's different than being, a terrible defensive team.
yeah, because they were
But
a pretty strong defensive team.
yeah, and that was right. Yeah, that was because of Bam and Butler, right? But
So
outside of that,
I'm gonna say they probably overachieved, right? Um,
yeah, for sure.
but everyone has high expectations for the Nets, and that's for a reason. So we won't belabor that any longer. Let's get back to
Who
the BS of the week. My my
who's yeah.
my most impressive was another a big guy, DeAndre Ayton. Came out, shot 26, 17, and 5 blocks. Like you mentioned how impressive the blocks are. Um, I mean, I thought this was just impressive, just because of the string of games he's been putting together of his last 3 or 4 games have been, right along these lines, just the double doubles, um, efficient shooting, on most nights, and he seems to be getting in some sort of rhythm. So I like what I'm seeing from him right now. So let's see if he can keep it up, but. I'm just giving him a shout out because we kind of crushed him in one of our earlier discussions about DeAndre Ayton and whether we thought he was gonna really produce, high second round value or not. Um, so
Who 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 would you give up on your roster to acquire DeAndre Ayton? Like if you were a buyer in DeAndre Ayton, who would the Great Danes give up?
funny you should mention that because because I actually made an inquiry about him. But the interesting thing is it was I didn't realize he was actually doing what he's been doing these last few games. Um, and I was thinking about him like, oh, he has some potential. Maybe he's a buy low. Um, I get it. He's at a great value at $14 in our league. Um, and he has a sort of a high ceiling. So I get whatever kind of price would be attached to him. But for me, I don't know. I think that was a difficult part. I'd be willing to really probably give up maybe some youngish assets for him. Um, but
You know me, man. I want to hear some names, man. What? Give me some names. Give me some players.
My players get jealous, man. I'm not gonna out them like that, man. They start hearing their names in trade rumors. I you know,
Come on, man. Ben Simmons, is back to regular life after his name, was tossed in some trade rumors.
yeah. Uh, I can see myself parting ways with a Garland or Mitchell Robinson. You know,
DeAndre Ayton on it. Are you listening up? Are you hearing what you're saying? Are you hearing what the
but
Great
I have
Danes are
I have
saying?
I have a feeling, and it sounds like the price tag is going to be high for Mr. Ayton. So, um, which as it should be. But we may not have uh anything of grand interest to him at this point. So we'll see how this goes. But kudos to DeAndre Ayton. He's been looking great recently. Um, what do you make of the most intriguing guys? I see you have Kristaps up
Yeah,
there,
this
Mister.
this was yeah, this was really tough for me. I almost went Clint Capella as well. But Porzingis, the unicorn, had a phenomenal game uh, this past week. You know, and the things that stood out to me the most was one that he's playing. Two is that he had a game in which he shot, a high field goal percentage, but that could possibly be because he didn't shoot as many threes. And two, no turnovers, right? Like, it's always impressive when you can get a high usage player to give you no turnovers. And
Yeah,
so this is just my shout out, my tribute to saying, happy to see that the unicorn is back, and I want to see what him and Don Doncic are going to do uh, this season.
yeah, man. If he stays healthy, we know that he's a very talented player, and fantasy wise, he can do a lot for owners. He blocks shots, he hits threes, he rebounds sometimes, um, and he hits his free throws. Rare combination, and as you mentioned, he's not a huge turnover machine, so he's quite efficient at what he does. His shooting percentage is a little suspect sometimes, but as you
Oh, it is.
because
Yeah.
it's he shoots from the outside a lot, and sometimes shoots from the logo, which is if Rick Carlisle's all right with it, then what do I have to say about it? So the guy you didn't go with, and I did, Clint Capella, man. Triple double with blocks, man. 10 blocks. He almost made my most impressive list. But with the free throw percentage and even the field goal percentage, it just wasn't quite as impressive. But 10 blocks is impressive, killer. If you could get 10 blocks in a game, you know that you're doing a lot. You're preventing a lot of people from scoring at the basket, and I like that. I like that a lot. 19 rebounds too. So whoever, um, whoever was probably playing with him just was not grabbing many boards. Collins, I'm talking to you. Actually, he had Collins had a good game that game too, though. I think he had a double double that game as well. So we just had a lot of bricks in that game, killer. Um, and uh,
Yeah.
and Clint Capella was a beneficiary there.
Yeah. Overall, just the stats in that game, especially on the Atlanta side, were just ridiculous. They were playing the Pistons, and it just felt like these players were just writing in their stats for the evening. Um, like 10, as you said, 10 blocks. That's just ridiculous. Like, come on, you gotta learn
Oh,
at some point.
tell somebody no before they stop coming to the hole.
And I mean, I don't know, man. Like,
You
if
get to
I'm
do
that
that
coach,
sometimes. I mean,
like
somebody there out there blocking shots like
we're
that.
working on we're working on the pull-up jumper.
Got to work the mid game a little bit. Most disappointing, the real BS, man. Who's on your poo poo list this week? Looks like Booker.
Man, I went with highly coveted, highly drafted, end of the first round. The godson, the guy that was, supposed to deliver, Sunday's food, um, Devin Booker, and he's just been awful and awful by his standards, and he had just an awful line. You guys can read it there. Um, the most striking thing is the field goal percentage, 24%. The effort, 12 points, 3 turnovers and 4 assists. Like
Yeah,
what's going on there? And this was against the Memphis Grizzlies in a game in which I think they lost. Yeah, him and CP3 and whoever else need to have an all players meeting. I don't know if you got to see that there was this the NBA Twitter feed put a feed, saying Booker was going to be out for the night, and it was like him just on the bench, just like this by himself, just shaking his head. It just looked just looked completely lost and
play
out of it. I think
play in the Denver game, right?
he did
He
play
did.
in the Denver game. Yeah, he did. That was Saturday or Friday.
That was last night. Yeah. So Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday night.
I don't know why I can't remember him.
Wait.
I feel like I remember seeing
Booker.
him in a mask.
No. It was a Saturday. Saturday he didn't play. Yeah. I'm
So
one day off
yeah. Okay.
because they didn't have the Suns didn't have a game today. Yeah. So it was the Saturday game he didn't play.
Yeah, he didn't play that game, and they almost won. Went to double OT. Um, that's interesting, and oddly enough, it kind of reminds me of another guy in a similar position. D'Angelo Russell. I'm not gonna call him what we call him in private, but uh, we have a
Hey
special name for
yo,
this guy. We have a special name for him, man, and he just didn't just came out. I forget who they were playing, but 22%. That's even worse than Booker. 1 3-pointer, 9 points, Kyle. This is the guy who we are depending on if I'm Minnesota to score the ball because Cat is out. Right? You came out and gave us 9 points. That's what we're doing. He didn't play long, but I think none of the starters played long that game. They were just despicable and getting spanked. Um,
I don't do D'Angelo Russell in fantasy leagues. I know he made an All-Star team as a Brooklyn net, but that was his ceiling. I was,
he was a replacement.
yeah,
But still, also, I'm not gonna,
he's
I'm not.
he's solid. Yeah. No. He's still solid, but
Yeah, he was.
I
He
think
had a good
yeah,
season, and the guy could score, man. The guy could score.
he can. He can. Something's up in that Minnesota water, man. Like,
Something is
yeah,
definitely up in Minnesota. You know, let's talk a little bit more about our guy, D'Angelo Russell, man. Um, Last night he was supposed to play, and to the surprise of many managers, he did not. He sat out. Now the story is that he needed to rest. When asked
I
about
get it.
when asked about it, his coach, Flip's son, Ryan Saunders, R.I.P. Flip, his message was that D'Angelo is carrying a bigger load this year, and so he needed his rest. What? It, maybe I'm missing something, but what's happening in Minnesota that has warranted D'Angelo Russell carrying a bigger load this year? Wasn't Cat out for like half a season last year. Did I am I missing something?
Yeah, I think you're underestimating the mental fatigue. So what's happening here is
I
D'Lo's expressing the load management of losses. Like there's only so many losses, only so many brick shots, only
D'Angelo Russell used to play for the
only.
Warriors. They weren't good at that time. He played for the Warriors last year too. Guess what? They weren't good. They were doing a lot of losing.
Right, but this Minnesota Timberwolves team is another level of losing.
No, they are. They are.
They're like I look at some of the rosters that are, or some of the lineups that they throw out there, and it's just disappointing. I mean, those previous teams that he played for would honestly kill this team. Like it's honestly a bad product to see them out there.
Yeah.
Um,
And young Flip, Ryan Saunders, he's a guy who's known for player development and he's running the team right now. I I don't know if people had higher expectations for Minnesota this year. And obviously Cat being out plays a big role in this, but from what I understand and everything I read, these players are one, they're all very young, right? A lot of them are young. Like D'Angelo Russell himself is 24 years old. Which also brings to question like, why do you need rest again? What's happening there? Do you think there's possibly something wrong with him as far as like his health? Is this a are they maybe it's got to be health related, right? I mean, but
nah, he misses his best friend.
the other point of
He
this too
missed,
is that I think he's been quoted as saying that their players don't really know the offense yet, and it's probably a little bit too complicated for them. And to their credit, they're playing in a time where they're not, people are not practicing a whole lot. Teams are, coming into the season, haven't had a whole camp and all this stuff, and you got a lot of young players. So I mean, I understand why they were struggling. I don't think any. I mean, me personally, I look at the standings, and Minnesota is exactly where I thought they would be. Did I think they would be maybe better than what they are right now as far as like their level of competition and whatnot? But yes, but I think there's probably enough um, change going on in the organization to introduce all this underperformance. Um, So I I I just but I still just don't understand this. Like you're sitting out a game unless he's injured, unless he's got some kind of medical condition that they're not making clear. But I don't know, man. You have a high load to you're talking about his load management. Like he has a higher load. Like who's playing more minutes than D'Angelo Russell?
man, you're
Paul.
underestimating the mental, the mental toll that it takes on him. You
Well,
know,
I understand that it's taking a mental toll, but you paid a lot of money to bear this burden of losing sometimes, and I think the fans just want him to go out there and play, or maybe they don't, because that game he sat out, they actually won that game. Ricky Rubio was running the show, and from what I understand, Ricky Rubio was running the show a little bit differently than D'Angelo Russell would have ran it. We all know that D'Angelo Russell likes the ball in his hands. And I think when you have Russell and you got Rubio playing on the floor together, it makes for a weird combination. The weird thing about it for me was I was anticipating that Rubio was going to start and run the point, and they would have D'Angelo as like off guard, off ball guard, but they have Rubio kind of playing in that role sometimes, and it's weird. Rubio can't play off the ball. Like, what's going on there?
They did a little bit of that. I think it was in Phoenix. Um,
A little bit, but
because I mean, we did see the uptick in Booker's assists, even though he was next to Rubio.
yeah, but
But we also didn't see the dip or as much of a big dip in Rubio's assist
Rubio's been
numbers.
coming off the bench too. That's the other part of it. Um, so I,
I think
I
they're
think
still trying to figure things out.
they're
Yeah.
trying to figure out their rotations. So,
Hmm.
you know, but something else happened, Kyle. Shaq, Shaq, who loves to talk. Don't 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 be proud of that jersey.
Man, I'm ready to burn this shit.
Uh, uh, now I'm gonna play this clip, but the question I have for you, man, is do you feel like Shaq was hating on Spida? For those who don't know the story, just the backstory is that Shaq had some comments in the halftime of the Utah Jazz game on, I think it was Thursday, and I think Utah was playing New Orleans, and they had this conversation about who, whether I'm sorry, whether Donovan Mitchell was a superstar or not, and here's just check out what Shaq had to say.
Mr. Shaq, I said tonight that you are one of my favorite players, but you don't have what it takes to get to the next level. I said it on purpose. I wanted you to hear it. What do you have to say about that?
All right. That's it.
That's it?
All right. That's it.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
wanted you to hear it.
I've been hearing Shaq. I've been hearing that since my rookie year. You know, I'm just going to get better and do what I do.
Good.
At the end of the day,
well, that's what I wanted you to hear you say.
yes,
Love
sir.
your game, brother. Keep it up.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think Spider.
Yeah, that's Donovan Mitchell's response. That's the type of response I give to people when they tell me, your fantasy team looking kind of funky. I can't see you win the championship. I'll be like, all right, all right.
Got it. Noted.
You got it. You've decided already. I'm not here to get in a sparring match with you. You've clearly chosen your stance. And I'm
Right.
not gonna be able to change it over one day.
Right. I mean,
Um,
what was he expecting him to say? Like, was he gonna stand there and like talk about how and why he thinks he can be a superstar? Like, it's not the time and
Shaq,
place for that. Like,
Shaq was being a bully. I mean, just look at him in that clip. He looks like a drunk. He's just depressed, man. A lot of these old guys, man, I don't know what it is with them, feeling like they've got to throw shots or they've got to play quote unquote this tough role or tough guy. And I mean, it's okay to give, criticism, right? But this is not criticism. The fact that you say something like, you're my favorite player, and then you say you don't have the juice, like that's so disrespectful. Like
yeah,
just the whole setup of it all. I mean, just tells you how much of a hater Shaq is. Like, and this is after, the Utah Jazz winning, 7+ games. He had a great game. Like this is not the type of flow that a post game interview
really great
has.
game.
And the other thing is, how many years has Donovan Mitchell been in the league?
4, maybe 5.
Exactly, right? And Shaq is choosing to beat him up and say, you know, you'll never amount to be anything. It's like
Well,
that's a little bit early.
he didn't go that far, but and
I mean,
and
nah, that's what his energy and aura smelled like.
Shaq's defense, though, he wasn't the only one talking crazy about Donovan Mitchell. Um, Charles Barkley also said in that halftime report, he was like, Donovan Mitchell does not impact the game in any other way except scoring. And I mean, from what I can tell, he rebounds at his position. He distribute. He racks up at least 4 or 5 assists per game. I mean, not to say that adding numbers is creating an impact, but you know, certainly fantasy owners may not be in agreement. Um,
So does Carmelo Anthony not impact the game? Or, I can go through, the list of, very good scorers,
outside of
which,
scoring,
yeah.
maybe. I mean, some people might argue that, but
You think Shaq is coming up to Carmelo Anthony in his fifth year after a great game?
yeah, yeah. It was
Gosh.
kind of weird to say the least. You know, but my question to you though is, is he wrong? Do you think Donovan Mitchell will be a superstar at some point in this league?
I think it's too early to call.
Well, let me ask you this:
We still have we
What
still
about
have to
Durant?
wait for like the
Is gonna be
decay of
a superstar?
hmm?
You think
What's up?
John Moran is going to be a superstar?
I think he'll break down before he gets there.
Hmm.
Um,
If
if
he's healthy, if he's healthy,
if he's healthy, he's got the motor, he's got the skills, he's got the roster around him.
it's a yes for me.
Yeah,
And this is in his second year, so too early. I don't know. It's anyone's call. I mean, I'm not saying Donovan Mitchell doesn't need more time this season, and everyone develops at their own pace. But um, is it hating if you're not wrong? I don't know.
I mean, it's not about being wrong. It's about you know someone trying to embarrass you on national television or trying to incite violence. I
I
mean,
like Donovan
Shaq.
Mitchell's response to it too, just because he also talked about it uh, in the post game press conference, and someone asked him about it, and he said, this is not about me right now. We're on a 7 game winning streak. I think he's got the right attitude, and I like that the Knicks should have drafted him.
It's a no-win situation, right? If Donovan Mitchell responds in any type of assertive or aggressive way. Like he gets nothing from it. Only Shaq gains.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, man, let's carry on and move on to